One of my favorite quotes by Maya Angelou is people aren't going to remember what you said, what you did,
Right.
but they will remember how you made them feel.
Yep.
And that's one thing I've always taught my staff.
Yep.
It's like somebody come in with the worst day ever, and what you do will make their day better or
Right,
worse.
right.
And if you make
Really
them
will.
feel good,
Yeah.
they're going to come back.
Right. I'm here with Vallie with the Kraken's Cup. Did I pronounce that right?
You did.
Okay. With the Kraken's Cup, and they are located here at 4815 North Broadway. They're located in the courtyard between Harbor Freight and Big Lots here in Fountain City. To meet you today.
Nice to meet you too, yeah.
So we're both sharing a cup of tea here that she made this morning. It's a coconut chocolate tea, and Vallie tells me that they've got over 80 teas here. They're also open for lunch. They have a lunch menu, and they are also open for events and classes. And this is an English style experience here. Like I said, with over 80 teas. I grew up in a little bitty town.
Right.
Little bitty. But I didn't take any college prep courses. All my friends did. And halfway through my senior year, I co-opted because my mom had co-opted. So I just left school to go work in the Dairy Queen.
Yep.
And just like, so I got done with high school and I looked at my mom and I was like, what am I supposed to do now? She's like, I don't know, just get a job. Your dad's worked in the tire factory for 30 some years. You know, maybe you work there. I'm like, well, I'm smarter than that though. All my friends went to.
Yeah.
So I just went and talked to the next door neighbor, and she recommended me to a guy from her church who was looking for a guy, in refrigeration, and I did that for a year or two. And then I was like, man, this sucks.
Yeah.
Making $1 an hour or whatever.
Yeah, I haven't talked to schools about co-ops. I do deal with a couple different groups that are like second chance employment recruitments.
Right.
So we've got a few folks that we get from them for our employees, and they're awesome.
Yeah.
Because they go through different programs. I have some that have gone through like the culinary programs at UT, the little quick ones that come in and work for me, and then we've got some that are coming in for other kitchen jobs. So I like working with a lot of those groups because it supports local.
Heck yeah.
And I'm big about that. So.
And the people feel like they need a stepping stone because they're in that program.
Right.
So.
Well, and when you work for corporations, it's hard to get that stepping stone because, like, when I worked for a corporate business, if they check marked that they had a previous record for any reason, they automatically just went in the trash.
Yeah.
They didn't even let you look at
They
it.
automatically think that they're liars and cheats and stealers and.
Yeah, and it
So,
just isn't fair. So.
How long have you been in this business?
I started in food service when I was about 15, so a long time ago.
Yeah.
Back in the dark ages.
So about 5 years.
5 years, yeah, absolutely. 5 years ago. So yeah, I started in food service when I was 15, working in fast food and working at a steakhouse. So when I was in high school, I had 2 jobs.
Right.
I did a lot. And I've loved it. I enjoyed making food. I enjoyed working with people. And I just liked the environment that good servers could create in a restaurant. So I did that for a long time. And then went to college, worked at the Melting Pot up here in Knoxville.
Oh, yeah.
So I did that for a while. And then focused on school.
Yeah.
Then I went into retail management for about 13 years. And then when I was leaving retail management, I was like, you know what? I have this kind of back burner idea I've been working on. I really would love to open my own tea house.
Yeah.
And got super serious about that. And then started working on the Kraken's Cup in 2013.
Yeah.
And then gave it a name in 2015.
Wow.
And then was supposed to have been open in 2019.
Yeah.
And the world fell apart.
Yeah. And then COVID happened. Yeah.
COVID happened, everything. I was supposed to have opened officially in March of 2020 was my second date, and that was when the world shut down.
Oh, it did, exactly.
Yes, because that was when I was
Yeah.
supposed to have signed my lease on my previous building. Glad that didn't happen.
Of course.
That
Yeah,
was
of course.
one of those blessings in disguise.
Sure.
And then I got
Unanswered prayers.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I didn't know it at the time. It was very frustrating.
Yeah, yeah.
So frustrating. Yeah. And then I found this building in 2022, got the lease signed, and then they spent all last year doing construction because this was just an empty box. There were no walls, there was no kitchen, there was nothing.
Beautiful in here.
Thank you. Yeah.
Very, very detailed.
I am very proud of how it came out. My architect was amazing and helped me figure out exactly where to put things. And then got open in December.
So you talked about a steakhouse.
Yes.
And so you had mentioned earlier when we were talking about a person at the steakhouse who had some influence on you.
Oh yeah.
You want to talk about that?
Yes. So when I started at the steakhouse, I was.
And it was where?
In Tullahoma, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Ponderosa Steakhouse. It's not there anymore, which is sad.
None of them are, I think.
There's one in Florida. Every time we go to Orlando, we try to go there for nostalgia.
Yeah.
And because they have really good salad.
The metal plate, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's
the
it's great.
steak
Yeah, my cousin worked there. I worked there. My best friends worked there. It was great. It was like the place to be.
Yeah.
And when I started, I had never done a serving job, and there was a lovely lady. Her name was Fran, who was that stereotypical like server that you see in the movies that just knows people's orders, is the friendliest person in the world. Absolutely loved her. She took me under her wing. I always called her Fran Mama.
Aww.
She was my mom. Matter of fact, I told her Happy Mother's Day yesterday.
Aww.
And she was great because she showed me that food service could be made a great experience by paying attention to the details, by showing people you care. And no matter how good or bad your boss was, you could make a difference.
Right.
Because the first day I worked, my manager made me cry. Like my boss made me cry. It was awful.
You got to talk about that. What happened?
I talked too much.
Oh, I gotcha.
I went around and I spent too much time at my tables and was not getting stuff done like I needed to. And he was not a very tactful person.
Oh, okay.
And made me cry. And it was awful because here I was, this poor little teenage girl, standing out in the sunroom in Ponderosa, crying because I had my feelings hurt. And I thought I was doing terrible. And she taught me that I should listen to the manager's constructive criticism, things like that.
Right.
But that it was up to me how I made my customers feel.
Right.
And that's one of my favorite quotes by Maya Angelou is people aren't going to remember what you said, what you did, but they will remember how you made them feel. And that's one thing I've always taught my staff. It's like somebody come in with the worst day ever, and what you do will make their day better or worse.
Right.
And if you make them feel good, they're going to come back.
Right.
Even if your food's terrible, which ours is not. Ours is very good. It's family recipes. It's awesome. But no matter what, they're going to come back because they like that feeling. And that was one of the things that Fran taught me. And I loved it. She taught me also how to multitask and how to take care of the building. Like she and I could send everyone home. And,
how to triage.
Yeah, how to make sure that everything was running smoothly and to not miss the details when they were necessary. It was great. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's the history of the name The Kraken's Cup?
The Kraken's Cup, it's named after the sea monster, the Kraken, the giant octopus. Right. And for me, that started with, I love to cosplay. I have a pirate alter ego that I go to Renaissance festivals and stuff. So I've always done the nautical kind of themed stuff. And it took me a couple years deciding what to name the tea house. I knew what I wanted to do, but not what to name it. And one day I was sitting down at home doing some arts and crafts, and I love working with clay. And I made this little octopus. I gave him a top hat, and I gave him a cup and saucer. And I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You're what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I had a little Kraken holding a cup, the Kraken's Cup. That's perfect. So I took that idea, and a few years later, when I decided to go ahead and start doing my branding and discovery for what I wanted to do with my branding, I talked to my branding manager and gave him all the details, showed him the pictures of my little character, and then he went through and his team made my logo, which is my little mascot, Octavius, with his little top hat. And it just kind of took on a life of its own.
What city did you grow up in?
For the most part, I grew up...
And where did you go to college?
Ooh, that's a couple things. So for the most part, I grew up in Estill Springs, Tennessee, which is in Middle Tennessee, kind of middle southern part. Yeah. And I grew up there, went to Franklin County High School, graduated from there and went to UT. So I went to UT for almost 4 years. Had a car wreck, so I had to leave college right before graduation, which was awful because I had put in so much work at UT and I loved it. And then a few years after that, I went back to college because I was too close. I wasn't going to give up. I was going to finish my degrees. Right. So I moved to Arizona. They had a better program for what I was doing. And I finished up at Arizona State. Right. So about 13 years of school, but I have 2 bachelor's degrees out of that.
Wow.
So.
This is recent. Did you have a good Mother's Day?
I was here from 11 p.m. on Saturday until about 6 p.m. yesterday.
Wow, you had a long,
We did because Saturday was really busy as well, so we had a ton of recovery to do. So I was pretty much here making sure we had everything, going and picking up the flowers we were giving to the moms, putting together Mother's Day baskets, running out and buying can openers for my staff because we broke our can opener in the middle of the day. So it was a very, very busy day. I didn't get to see my kid yesterday, but he gave me a card on Friday, which was super sweet of him. And then jumped on me this morning with my Mother's Day present. So I spent my day here. Everyone was great. Some of my staff got me flowers, and they all told me Happy Mother's Day.
That's a good Mother's Day.
It was a great day. It was the busiest day we've seen yet. We were booked up 3 weeks ago.
Wow.
That was crazy. Yeah. We came in one day and we had 15 people reserved for seating. And
very healthy business. Yeah, very healthy business.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So I love it though. I love seeing the people come in.
You mentioned going to Las Vegas to the World Tea Expo. I'm interested in learning more about that.
That's probably one of the best decisions I made for me doing this business. I discovered it just looking up stuff about tea and finding resources for opening up my business. And I started going in 2019 and made some of the best connections I could have made. And that's one thing, if you have any sort of niche hobby or business, finding your tribe is one of the most important things to keep you motivated.
Right.
And so they had a boot camp for new business owners. I took that. The table of people that I ended up being seated with, we created our own little group on WhatsApp, and we try teas, we send stuff to each other, we ask business questions, so it gave me a really good foundation for my business. And then I go back every year because I've met a lot of my vendors there. I've got a marketing company I deal with, I met them there.
Nice.
They have a lot of classes. They also partner with the Restaurant and Bar Expo, so it's great for me because having a restaurant, I can go and find other vendors or find companies that have your POS systems, your payroll systems, all that kind of stuff that you don't get on the tea side. But it's a lot of fun. It's
the
in
business
Vegas.
side of it.
Yeah, the business side of it, not
yeah.
just the retail tea portion. The tea education is very important because that's one of the things I'm passionate about is teaching people about the thousands of types of tea that are out there. But if you're not running the business properly, you can't stay open.
And tea is old. I mean, tea's been around for
thousands of years.
Yeah,
Thousands of years.
and thousands of years.
Yeah.
Do you know where it came from originally?
Well, legends have it, China,
Okay.
from what they can trace back. I mean, there's a lot of lore as to, it was this emperor who had a tea leaf fall in their boiling water and they decided to make it a thing. But it's been around for thousands of years.
Oh, wow.
And so traditionally people say China's where it started, and then there have been wars fought over it. I mean, we dumped it in a harbor. There's
Right.
so much history to tea.
Yep, the Boston Tea Party.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And unfortunately, after we threw it in the harbor, Americans kind of gave up on it, I think, because we really became a coffee culture.
Oh, yeah.
And over the past 10 years especially, the tea culture's been building back
Yeah.
up. So Knoxville has a lot of tea businesses.
Oh,
Most
wow,
people just
yeah.
don't know about them.
Sure.
So I'm trying to help build that back up.
You want to talk about your parents and their influence on you?
Oh, my parents are amazing. Absolutely. Yes, my parents still live in Middle Tennessee. They're trying to move to Knoxville. They had a huge impact. A lot of my aesthetic is thanks to my dad, because growing up, Indiana Jones was the thing he was into.
Yeah.
He's been a moderator for their fan groups for decades.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of memorabilia in here that is directly to that. That's why I got into archaeology, which is one of my degrees.
Sure.
And so antiquated stuff, archaeology, all of that really is my dad's fault. And then the tea part itself is Mom. Absolutely. She started collecting Hall teapots, which is a specific brand, and we would always get them for her. And she
What is
started
it made from?
Porcelain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Hall teapots are pretty much mostly porcelain. And so she started getting teapots, and then I started getting teacups and teapots, and it just turned into an arms race.
Oh.
So we ended up, she would buy me teacups, I would buy her teapots, and I ended up with just a massive collection thanks to her, and just a love for learning about antiques and getting a little more history about them. I have hundreds of teacups in the building.
Oh, wow.
And even more in storage because I want to open more locations.
Oh, that's good.
So I've already planned ahead.
Nice.
And have started amassing that collection.
Favorite part about your job?
My people. The job itself is great. I love teaching people about tea and the education, but my staff is amazing. And they've worked really hard to learn about an industry that they had no clue existed, which has been really fun to watch them grow because I have a staff of people who, some of them have never worked in food service at all. Some of them have never had tea before. And listening to them when I'm in my office, try new teas and go, you know what? This has a subtle flavor of fruit. And I've not tried this one before, but I think this one would go really well with our ham salad. It's really endearing to listen to them learn and care. And they offer up suggestions.
Put their heart into it.
They put their heart into it. They really do. If I didn't have a great staff, I would not be able to do this.
Yeah.
So I love them.
Would you consider yourself to be a morning or a night person?
Oh, I want to be a morning person so bad. I love mornings. I love the sunrise. Unfortunately, with the way my schedule works, I tend to have to be up later, which makes it harder to be up in mornings. So I'm forced into the night owl lifestyle.
I gotcha. So then we talk to people, especially young people, about behavior being important, especially personal finance behavior. What behavior do you have that you're proud of that you would like to share?
Learn about personal finance, period. Not the same things don't work for everybody. For me, I use the envelope system, not literal envelopes, but I use it in my bank accounts.
Right.
So I'll have bank accounts that are dedicated to specific things, like with my business.
Yeah.
One is this is where the tax money is coming from. This is where the rest of the P&L comes from. You know, it's really good to see your money, understand where it's going,
Right.
and read all the fine print before you do give it to people.
Right.
So that money awareness, 100%. Always read new things. Always be learning from new books. Listen to people who are in finance who have done it, and don't just think you know everything you need to know. So always learn.
That's good. And speaking of books, you had mentioned that you were going to recommend 3 different books.
Yes.
So.
Yes. So my 3 favorite that I've got recently, Who Moved My Cheese?
Yeah.
I cannot tell people enough about Who Moved My Cheese. It's a short book. It's an easy read. I give it to everybody on my staff because it teaches you about change and how to adapt to change and not let it overwhelm you. And one of the biggest jokes in my life, my friends call me Adventure Girl because there's so many plot twists. Everything is always, they say, oh man, I'm so sorry that went wrong. I'm like, it didn't.
Yeah,
it's a new adventure.
Right.
So I just yell plot twist and keep going.
Yeah.
So learning how to roll with that, it keeps you from mental breakdowns.
Right.
The one I just finished is called The Wealthy Spirit by Shelley Campbell. And then another one, Simple Abundance by Saren Brethnach. Both of those are great because they're little bite-sized daily things you can read. So you've got like 365 days of either inspiration for your financial life, your personal life, your organizational life. It's just got little snippets, and especially when you're in business, you don't have time.
Right.
You don't have time to just sit down and dedicate to one train of thought for a book.
It's
So having little bits and pieces like that is so good for people who have a busy schedule.
And you can see behind us that she has bookcases in here full of books and little knickknacks, and we talked about a golden tooth over here. What's the story behind the golden tooth?
So that is the gold tooth of the dread pirate Roger, who sailed the 7 seas, tormenting the world. But really, it's the one thing I have from my Uncle Roger, who unfortunately passed. And so that got passed to my dad and then to me, and I wanted him to live on, and so he has become a pirate in my tea house. I've got a bunch of fun little things like that we've got whole stories behind. I've got a little dragon head wearing a pith helmet. I've got some shrunken heads in the corner. You know, I've got my other dining room has a sentient tree with a whole little fairy garden full of teapots that are shaped like houses. So there's just new stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Everything's got a story.
And we're going to post a bunch of pictures of her business here at the end of this video, so you'll be able to see the inside. But please come over and visit her. This is an important part of North Knoxville, Fountain City here. So if you had to eat one food or dish daily for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Pizza. Always pizza. Not just because my husband owns a pizza place, but you can put anything in the world on pizza. I can have breakfast pizza, I can have lunch pizza, I can have dessert pizza, pizza, yes.
Right. Everybody loves pizza.
They should.
So you can call and schedule a reservation one more time at 865-297-3083. You can set a reservation up on explore.talk.com, and then you can visit her on Instagram. You have 2 different Instagram pages.
They are both legitimate. I have the Kraken's Cup and the Kraken's Cup Knox.
Yep. And then she's on TikTok. What is your?
The Kraken's Cup, again, we're learning how to do videos, so it's slowly making its way to TikTok.
And then, of course, the Kraken's Cup on Facebook as well. She's also listed on LinkedIn. You can contact her directly on LinkedIn. And then she's also on TripAdvisor.
Yes, reviews really help when people are visiting from outside of state, because you don't find little gems like mine unless you know where to look on the internet to find us. We don't have road signs.
Yep, that's it, yeah. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming out today.
Yeah.
Come join us again for tea and tiny sandwiches.